Good morning, everyone. Welcome into our Saturday morning coaches show as we wrap up the football season with Wildcats football coach Greg Owens. And as we always do before we get in seriously into the football conversation, just give you a quick overview of some of the other sports going on. Wildcats basketball, they were at home last night hosting Forney. Trailed by 13 at the half, but ended up winning the game 66-58. Wildcats now 4-3, and they play at Paris today. And Paris has a football game. They're playing a regional final game against Argyle, 6 o'clock over at McKinney's new stadium. So everybody in Paris is all juiced up about football, so they're trying to get these basketball games done as quickly as possible. And so the boys' game will be at noon today, and it's just varsity only. So if you plan to make that trip, I guess if you got tickets, I don't know how they do notification on everything. But anyway, that's happening at noon at Paris today, varsity only. This week on Tuesday, Wildcats will be going to Garland-Naaman Forest for a Tuesday game at 7 p.m. On Friday at Royce City, Friday 7:30. And then Saturday, a home game for the Wildcats 1 week from today. Mesquite Horn will be in the gym, and the varsity game scheduled to start at about 4. I think the sub-varsity is at about 1 o'clock. Lady Cats basketball Friday on the road at Pleasant Grove. They won that game 39-19, played great defense according to Coach Tisdale. And she said Pleasant Grove didn't score until sometime in the second quarter. So that's playing good defense. It was 39-19. And while Lady Cats are 2-2, today they host Paris in the main gym at Sulphur Springs High School. Again, varsity only, and 10 o'clock for that one. So very shortly coming up on that game. This week, Lady Cats will be at New Boston on Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then Friday, believe it or not, they start their district schedule. Mount Pleasant will be in town, and that will be a 6 p.m. game for the Lady Cats. Wildcats and Lady Cats golf, believe it or not, they have their third and final fall tournament. This one was one made up from several months ago when they got weathered out. So it will be Monday at the Rockwall Golf and Athletic Club, and this is a regional preview, the course that the teams could possibly play in the regional if they qualify for that. Wildcats soccer has a scrimmage next Saturday at the Prim, and they'll be inviting North Lamar, Sabine, and Mineola. And Lady Cats soccer this week on Thursday, scrimmage at home at the Prim against Royce City. That's 7:15 varsity start with JV game prior to that. And Wildcats tennis got an early start on their spring tennis schedule as they played in Kaufman on Thursday. I talked to Tony Martinez about that, but I had a recorder problem, and so I've asked him for some information, and look forward to receiving that as they did pretty well, had a couple of third-place finishes. Kaufman is a really, really, really good tennis program. They did very, very well in team tennis. I think they went to the state tournament. So that's everything else. Coach Owens is with us, and Coach, I thought before we talk about all your 22 seniors that you're so proud of, just one comment maybe on just a crazy wild end to a crazy wild season where you only got 6 games in out of 10 this year.
Yeah, and we're still living it with, you just read all those sports. We're talking about golf and tennis and basketball and soccer, all this stuff converging at one time again. So this happens to us in the spring, usually around February, and now with everything being pushed back, it's kind of on top of us right now. So, volleyball just finished up their season here just a week ago. And so, I mean, there's just some crazy stuff that is taking place on all this. And so it has. And so we kind of talked about with our guys yesterday. So a weird end and a weird beginning, as we start all this. Yeah. So, it's these seniors, I told them yesterday how much I appreciate them and all the work and things they put in and just kept believing and working, because it's kind of discouraging when you go to work and then all of a sudden you're told you can't go perform at the end of that deal. So when we went in this thing, we started it up in June after a crazy spring of shutdown. Their buy-in was great. I mean, they showed up, they went to work, and we never knew when we were going to get the start, if we were going to get the start. But that's what I told them I was proud of them for, just coming and being a part of it. And this is a very good group. They liked each other. They got along. They didn't mind working. They had fun when we were together, and just those things. And I think as the season went along, we just progressed,
Yeah.
So as crazy of a start as all that was, now here we are, and we don't get to play our last ball game, or we already did play our last ball game. And so I don't know. I told them the other day, so we cleaned lockers out yesterday, and I said, we're going to dip our pads and all that kind of stuff. I said, we may get a call next week. We're fixing to go to the playoffs. We don't know that. This stuff may happen. We may smell really good going into them after we did all our sanitation stuff. But it's just one of those crazy deals. You can't explain it, and things just happen, and you just deal with it. So I'm proud of them for just enduring, persevering, whatever you want to call it. They've just kept pushing forward and pushing along, and they've done a good job of that, and just been been positive. So whatever hit them, I mean, they've been discouraged, but then they hold their head right back, raise it back up, and here we go again, and they're just ready. They just roll with the punches, I guess, is maybe the easiest way to put it. And so we all been punched in the gut and the face and everywhere else, and hey, it is what it is, and here you go. So I was proud of the way we finished last week, though, against against Crandall and those guys, and how we came out and just kind of played and just got better. As you and I have been talking this whole year, though, we did just get better. We got better. Even though we were losing some of those ball games early against some really good teams, we got better and made improvement. That's what I told them yesterday, too. I said, we got better. I wish we were still playing. It's one of those deals. This is a group that wasn't tired of playing. They weren't, even though we started back in June. We missed spring ball. They missed all that stuff in the springtime. We kind of try to get some of it back. But as long as this season has been, those guys kept getting after it and kept improving. And, again, this is one of those teams you just want to keep playing because, hey, we got better this week and this week and this week, and guys are stepping up and making plays. So this is one of those things you hate for it to end, but at some point it's got to.
And the 4 games lost this year, all those teams appear to be headed for the playoffs. Lovejoy ended an undefeated season, 10-0, and so they're a number 1 seed. North Forney, a number 2 seed in our district, only lost 1 game to Ennis, number 1 in the state. Greenville headed for the playoffs as a 4 seed, and it looks like Frisco Wakeland may have crept in last night. I was reading in the morning news that they appear to be a number 4 seed in a crazy district that's upsets and all kinds of stuff going on. So you lost to some quality people, and if you're only as good as your last game, like you say, that was a good one in Crandall. So.
Yeah, it was. I mean, our district, Ennis is definitely elite.
Yeah.
What they did, they went and took care of North Forney as the crossover games when we started playing those after the zones. They defeated North Forney, which is a very good football team with some big-time D1 players going to play. And so Ennis is loaded. We never saw Ennis because that was part of our quarantine. And, man, they're good. They beat North Forney and just dismantled those guys. And then what they did to Greenville, they beat Greenville 56-3, I think, and we know how fast Greenville was, but they've got some guys that can match up with that speed. And so that makes a huge difference. And then I believe Thursday night, then North Forney also beat Royce City.
Right.
And Royce City has some really good guys too. So, and then the Royce City-Greenville game was pretty close. I think it turned out to be maybe a 10-point ball game where Royce City went out on top of a Greenville. So pretty good football teams in there. We didn't get to see Royce City. But like you said, the others we played were some really good football teams, and hang your hat on that. You played some good people. Yeah, we lost the ball games, but again, a weird year too with the 22 seniors, but there are also some young guys, first time on the varsity, pretty decent mix. It just kept getting better as well. So saw seniors get better, saw sophomores get better, and just that process of seeing that was really encouraging for us.
All right, 22 seniors, and we'll begin to talk about them right after our first internal break. Back in a moment. And back here on Saturday Morning Coaches Show, special show always with Coach Owens. He gets a chance to talk about each and every one of his seniors. And this is a class of maybe about an average Wildcats class. We've seen some much larger and perhaps 1 or 2 smaller than 22, but just kind of a nice size senior class, and it means a lot of those Wildcats will be coming back too on that final roster. And we'll just start with numero uno, Bryson Lacy for you, Coach.
Yeah, Bryson's a talented young man, fast kid. That last year we played him at receiver. And really he's a talented route runner and those kind of things and speed-wise. But we had a need this year on defense, and he's a long corner, and we thought maybe he might have an opportunity to go do something after high school too with his length. So at the end of this thing, Bryson's he's a hard worker. He gets after it. He's a spirited young man, very excitable. And has an opportunity to get a ball in his hands. He has an opportunity to do some special stuff with it. So, but he had a good year for it. He bounced around in the corner for us a little bit and did some special team stuff. And at the end of the year, he's had some injury issues. He has had to fight through with Achilles and stuff like that. It's just kind of been a bad ending for him, really, where he didn't get a chance to play either. So he was hoping he could get to play against Forney, but didn't work out. So you never know when that last one's going to be.
Absolutely, that's the way it is. Kind of, to me, the heart and soul of this Wildcats team, as I've watched them, kind of a real emotional leader and just a good leader on the field, Caden Davis.
Yeah, Caden, I don't know, I think the first time I saw Caden was in the 7th grade. And I saw him, we were at a practice after a ball game. I was out there. They just lost this really close ball game, and he was a 7th grader playing on the 8th grade team. And he raised his hand. He said, "Coach, can I say something?" So here's the 7th grader with all the 8th graders. He stood up and gave a great talk and took responsibility for the loss and just as a team, and the leadership ability in him is phenomenal. He's a hardworking kid, great kid, gets after it. You don't worry about him academically. And then there's lots of stories, and I won't tell you a whole bunch about them, but he's got a plan. He knows what he wants to do in life and how he's going to get there, and he's going to achieve all that. I mean, he really will, because he's got his mind on right. He's, again, takes care of business. He is a very personable young man, sharp, takes care of everything. So hard worker, really good running back. I mean, he has 160 yards at the first half of Crandall and then cramps up, and we have maybe a concussion. We don't know if it's dehydration or what, but went on with him. We put him through concussion protocol, but he's okay.
Good.
But all that, so he was excited about getting to play this last one, but had some really big ball games and started getting those big, long runs that he's always been that grinder, 5, 6, 10, yards, and he started breaking some of these other ones, and we were excited to see that for him. So people's eyes are still on him a little bit right now as a tough inside runner, so we'll see where he goes in the future. But yeah, he's a tremendous leader, done a great job for us, been on the varsity since his sophomore year, and just improved his hand every year. We give him something to work on, and he worked on it. This last year was really about his hands and his pass protection, and he worked at that and got better at it. And last year he shared time with Chalk, and those guys were so unselfish. No, it's your turn to go carry. It's your turn. They're arguing on the sideline whose turn it is to go get a touchdown or whatever on the goal line. And so, he's a real good teammate. Puts the other guys before him, and just did a great job for us. And we're going to definitely miss him.
Yeah, he broke into the scene for a lot of us that maybe don't know as much. Obviously, you coaches, you say, known him since 7th grade. But a long run in a scrimmage, about 30-yard touchdown when he was a sophomore. Who is this guy? Yeah. But we found out who he is all about. Another player that went from offense to defense for you, a safety, Wyatt Bennett.
Yeah, Wily. The best thing about Wily, he's a tremendous deep snapper. I mean, he can rip the ball on deep snaps. I remember him when he was in junior high. His dad would come out there on Sunday afternoons and be outside on the band field, and they're out there working on snaps. I'm thinking, what is going on? But man, I was so glad he did. His dad's name's Billy, and they just worked on those snaps, and he is a tremendous deep snapper. Last year he had a hard time because he had all these health issues, out of balance, back, hamstrings, ankles. He had a lot of issues just trying to work through and all that. And finally in the summer, for him maybe a blessing. We kind of took some time off and let him really kind of relax and rest and all that. So I think that was good for him. So his body kind of healed back up, and he did a good job for us too. Special teams guy, I told you, deep snapper, played safety, smart kid back there, get us in the right coverages, do those things. Because he's the old dude, they called him Pawpaw. So come on, Pawpaw, get out here. So there's a lot of stuff, but he's laid back, easygoing, highly intelligent young man, and the future is extremely bright for him.
Very good. A strong arm quarterback, boy, can throw the ball through a brick wall. Just a tremendous arm and much more speed than people realize. Your starting quarterback, Caden Wallace.
Yeah, Caden, he blossomed into what we always wanted him to be these last several games. He really kind of gained some confidence, came into his own, throwing the ball tremendously, throwing the ball a great job, but he really improved on his running. We kept challenging to get upfield, run upfield, instead of going lateral. When he started doing that, man, he started breaking these runs, and, I mean, those are backbreakers against defenses. He gained confidence in doing that, felt good about it, kept improving. I mean, he had several 200-yard games here towards the end of just throwing the ball, and then 100-yard rushing games. So he kind of became the dual threat there somewhat, not just as a elusive runner, but just the guy, when you're giving it to him, he's going to make it happen. So, man, did a great job of that, continued to get better, and I think his future's bright too. I really do. He's a hard worker, did everything we ask of him, a very good young man. So excited for him and how he kind of progressed, and he's another one we wanted to see him be able to play against Forney and just keep stacking these games up because, again, he just kind of came out of his shell and it all just started clicking for him about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and, man, he's done a great job.
Kind of a new kid to the program, moved in, defensive back, Chandler Johnson for you.
Yeah, Chandler, CJ, man, he just a great kid. I don't know what else to tell you about him except he's a fine young man. Won't hardly say a word. We didn't get him to talk, I don't know, 3 times it seemed like. But he was a special teams guy, played safety for us, was there every single day, just came to work, very pleasant, hard-working kiddo. Again, I don't know a whole lot about him because he doesn't share a whole lot. I mean, he's at these positions and stuff, but he showed up every day. I know he's a hard worker and a great kiddo and did whatever we asked him to do and did it with a smile on his face and came to work every day. And he's fun to be around. You can joke with him some, but you got to really work at him to get him to kind of respond to you.
This guy, another offense to defense fellow, plays with a lot of fire and emotion. Landry Mescaman. Yeah,
one you don't have to worry about saying something to you because he's going to walk in
right.
saying something. So, yeah, I mean, Landry's a ball of energy now. I mean, he's just he's a little fire plug of dynamite ready to explode, a guy that really worked his tail off this summer to be able to get on the field for us at outside linebacker, just putting body weight on, getting stronger. He spent tons of time in the weight room, just eating, just gaining weight. I mean, he's just one of those bodies, fast metabolism. He's just not going to gain it, but he did a great job for us, and he's a physical player. Now, when he hits you, he throws his entire body into you. I mean, it's just wide open. So Landry's played receiver for us. He's played up and down the special team spectrum for us. We got him on our punt, one of our gunners on our punt guys, because my whole deal was trying to slow him down to block long enough. He couldn't wait to get down there and try to hit the guy catching the ball. But that's the personality of him. I mean, it is wide open. It's full go. I mean, it's either stop or it's 100%, 100 miles an hour. I mean, that's what you're going to get with Landry. So it's really going. But he's enthusiastic. He gets the guys going. He's kind of the rah-rah guy in that huddle for him. They say, let's get your head up and let's go. He just brought energy and excitement, and he did a great job. He's an undersized guy that played like a big guy. I mean, he would really figure out ways to maneuver, get around this guy, make things happen, and made a lot of good plays for us, and he did a super job.
All right, starter on the corner for you, Caden Eaton.
Caden Eaton. Now, he's like Chandler up there. I mean, he's quiet. You're not going to get a whole lot out of Caden. I mean, Caden just kind of slides in and he slides out. And, hey, was Caden here today? I mean, he's just that guy. He's real quiet. Last couple of years, he's been kind of timid. But this last year, he began to grow. His body began to mature a little bit. He put more time in the weight room, too. It just began to develop. And he gained a confidence out there at corner. He's kind of our cover guy. He's the guy. Go put Caden on him on the other side. So he turned into that guy, go put him on their best receiver. And so he just kept growing and maturing in that way, in that regard, and he gained a lot of confidence through all that. And I'm proud of where he ended up. I was nervous about him really coming to the year. Can he step up? Can he do it? And he continued to do that. Coaches challenged him. He stepped up to the occasion every time and did a fantastic job for us. At corner, you're going to get beat sometime. That's just part of it. I mean, it's just, are you going to go shut it down and quit, or are you going to come back and play? And so, yes, he got beat a few times, but he came back. He didn't come over and pound the sideline or say my hamstring's hurting. No, he got back in there and he got it, and he relished that role of, okay, Coach, I know y'all going to put me on their best one. Here we go. So that he kind of took that role over about mid-season, and he just ran with it. So it was fun to see him mature and grow and see his confidence blossom in that too.
All right, very good. Let's take our second internal break. More seniors right after this. This is our Saturday morning coaches show. I'm Don Julian with Wildcats football coach Greg Owens. He's talking about all the seniors, 22 of them on the roster for the Wildcats this season. And the next guy up is Colin Wily.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to define Colin. I mean, undersized defensive lineman, but he may be the epitome of hard work. I mean, he has worked himself into the ability to get on the field and play for us. You know, he started the year out defensive line, and every week he didn't get as much playing time probably as he wanted every week just because of the size of some of those lines. But, man, a technician did what you asked him to do. He's going to be where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, extremely coachable, great kid, pleasant. I mean, love him to death. I mean, he's just that program kid that you're glad he's there. He's going to do whatever. He's the guy I can look to on special teams and say, Coben, can you go do this for me? You know, every year I got that guy that's kind of moves around somewhere. He's one of those guys that understands it. He gets it. He's kind of a coach on a field. And, again, man, his attitude is, yes, sir, whatever y'all need me to do, that's what I'll do. So primary position was, I define it as a defensive end, but, I mean, special teams, I mean, I think he was on every one of our special teams. I mean, from a back over here, there, but again, his attitude is probably the greatest thing about him. His character and his attitude and hard work, and he had to overcome an injury. This summer he battled with, and I'll tell you this, I don't think he minds, but I think he was battling with whether he wanted to play or not. I mean, he had a shoulder injury and had some injuries that he was kind of dealing, I don't know if I want to do this or not, and then finally he said, I'm doing it, and here he is, and when he's in, he's all in. And he overcame all that kind of stuff and still battled through some soreness and came to early morning rehabs and all those things the last couple of years and got himself. But no, he great young man, fiery. You want a ton of those guys on your football team because they're just going to give you maximum effort all the time.
All right. Guy that really kind of burst on the scene this year for you, and I know you wish you had had him for 2 or 3 years, Robbie Hanks.
Yeah, Robbie's a weirdo. I'll just tell you that. I mean, he loves track. I mean, how many of these guys like to go run track? You know, he got here, and I think the first thing he said, Coach, I love track. You know, when we sit in my office, and I go, oh, boy, this guy right here is different then. There's not many guys that love to go track. Robbie's a fast guy. What hurt Robbie was us not having any spring. If I remember my stories right, I think he moved in early January, and we got him in. We got signed up. Here we go. And he was anxious for track, you know. We were anxious to see him too. I think he moved from Cleburne, and he came in, so we didn't know where to put him. I mean, he's kind of a kid that has good hands, but he hadn't been. He in the spring, he maybe has some of the best hands on our team. And in the spring, he wasn't here to go through and learn our offense. And so the summer, we're kind of going. Defensive guys are pulling for him. We need a corner. We need some safeties maybe. We need maybe a receiver. So he didn't. You know, it's kind of one of those weird things. He didn't get to run track. He didn't get to go through our spring ball. So when he did start showing up in June, we really started saying, okay. He's athletic. He can run. He's not scared. He's a physical kid, so we put him at that corner out there. And his technique was not great. He just kept trying to learn that. So he got hurt probably most by maybe as any of these guys is COVID because just not getting the experience of in our system. But, man, did a great job for us, fought through, special teams guy. Again, great attitude. His attitude is probably the best thing about him. Yes, sir, here we go. I'm going to have fun today. Here I am. I'm ready to go get after it. So we're so happy to have him and move in. Sometimes move-ins work out and sometimes they don't. But he's a guy that, yes, really was good for us. Again, great attitude guy. His future is bright just because his willingness to work and his attitude of I can do this. Doesn't matter. Throw me in there.
All right. One of Casey Jeter's guys, one of his B-backs, Langston Bridges.
Yeah, Langston's just been here with us a long time. And Langston's he's got that middle body. You know, he's really got good hands. He's super smart. I mean, Langston, he's really smart kid. And he knows offensively, he knows every receiver position. He could go play running back. So as we're going through some problems at the end of the year and Caden's out of the game, and I look at Matt, I go, Matt, who's the next running back? He goes, it's Langston. I said, well, he's never he can do it. So he knows. So he's the guy that you can put him in any spot. He just knows everything. You know, he would probably tell you he could play quarterback, you know, and he probably could. You know, he just doesn't have the arm, but I'm just saying to know what to do. He's a guy that can do that, and he was a guy that wherever we needed him, that's what he did. So he played outside linebacker when he was younger, and then these receiver spots. So he just kind of filled all those voids. The greatest thing about him, again, like a lot of these other ones, is his maturity. As he matured and as he grew, he just kept staying with it. and kept working and kept going and kept showing up and kept getting after it. And, he's the guy that's going to be early to practice. He's the guy that's after practice. He's the guy, coach, you need anything? He's the guy you go grab him. Hey, Langston, can you do this for me? Yeah, I got it. So he's all over the place. I mean, he really is. And now he's all over the school doing the same stuff. He helps them in the library, comes and helps us. He's everywhere. He's just that kind of kid and a great kiddo, and he's going to have a bright future as well just because he's willing to do those things. Unselfish, do what you need me to do, and, man, we're going to miss Langston.
All right. Brian Osornio.
Brian, man, another quiet guy. I mean, you put him in another group. I mean, Brian, he just looks at you like, okay, I got it. I mean, okay, Brian, you got it. Here we go. But, I mean, he's a guy we played down as a junior on the JV to get more experience. He's still undersized, but he's kind of like a rattlesnake. You look at a rattlesnake, then all of a sudden when they strike, it just catches you off guard. Or any snake strikes, how quick they are. And that's Brian. Brian's a tough kid, and he's a feisty kid. There's so many clips on, and you don't know. He's not running his mouth. He's not loud. He's that quiet, silent assassin over there. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him on film. I rewind the tape. Who was that? He just takes these big linemen, and he just punches them, and he hits them. And it's like, holy cow. You don't see it all the time out of him. Because I guess he's quiet, just doing his job. But he is a physical guy that I would still call undersized to play inside linebacker. But, man, he did a great job of being physical. He can't sit there and wear it out every day with 300-pound linemen. But, man, he has got some punch to him. He kept coming. He likes it. He liked the physicality of it. And he's in there with a group of characters at that inside linebacker spot with him and Carrillo and those guys. And, and Smithson. We all locked it in one side, and they just had a big time over there. But, again, a guy that's not going to say 3 or 4 words to you. He might just nod his head at you, and that's kind of it. But that's kind of his inside linebacker coach, too, Coach Silman. He just kind of nods his head and not many words. But he might not be able to talk either with Carrillo over there going 90-0. So that stuff. But, man, did a great job for us. Special teams guy, and just did whatever we asked him to do and got after it. And excited for him and the career he had and how he finished up his senior year. All
right. Let's get the third internal break done here, and we'll come back and continue to talk seniors with Coach Greg Owens. Back in a moment. Back here on the Saturday Morning Coaches Show with Wildcats football coach Greg Owens, talking about the 22 seniors on the Wildcats roster. And this was a good continuation from, in fact, you mentioned his name. Mm-hmm. Very good inside linebacker for you. A lot of tackles for Wyatt Smith.
Yeah, Wyatt's another guy. He's a program guy, too. A lot like Brian. Last year, I'm proud of him, too. He swallowed his pride, and we needed him to play down last year. Because the linebackers guys we already had play down and get experience, so he'd be ready for this year, and he did that. And he got better last year. He kind of gained confidence last year. And then this year, body develops. He's ready to go. Mentally, he's ready to go. So he steps into the starting inside linebacker spot there with him and Ryan Carrillo and did a great job. Wyatt's a tough kiddo, gets after it, works hard. Those kind of things. He likes the physicality of that stuff. I kind of group those guys together, Carrillo and Osornio and him, they just like that stuff. They like getting in there, throwing their bodies around. It's just fun to them. That's the whole thing. And Wyatt's no different. He liked getting in there and mixing it up with those guys, and that they had a great bond and a great friendship just being around each other. He did a great job. G-Dub left last year. He kind of helped step into that role this year with him and Ryan. And, man, those 3 guys did a great job in rotation of our inside spots. And so Wyatt, I'm proud of him sticking in there. I'm so glad he did and finished up and did a super job for us. He really did. He had a really good year.
All right. Logan McClung.
Yeah, Logan's a guy that moved in last year, and he's the guy, again, I talk about some of these guys that are stuck in between with these bodies that are maybe not fast enough to go play this skill position and not big enough right here. So he's a guy that, kind of wish we'd got him a little earlier, too, and helped develop him a little bit more in some areas because where we put him. So he came from Coach Burleson over at Kaufman, and they were playing him one way. We kind of moved him, shifted him to another, but he played defensive line for us. He played some special teams for us. He was disappointed some time and wanted more playing time, and some of those situations just didn't come about. But, man, he's there every day. Had a great talk with him just yesterday. he came out after school, and we just sat down and talked for a little bit about his future and what he was going to do and all that. Love him to death. Did a great job of just being there, a great attitude, just there to do whatever you need him to do. If you need to run scout, do this, whatever, and then he got some game time. He got his reps in the game, but proud of him and where he is. And it's hard for a kid to move from one school in the middle of the year and that transition stuff. But he came in with a great attitude and did what we asked him to do. And again, he's a guy that's there early. He's still there late. I mean, he stays and works out and does that. He's going to go into the military. He says he's shipping out June 1, so he's kind of has his plan. So he knows what he wants to do, and he's geared towards that, and he's going to be a great soldier for us.
Coach, you've had some great inside and middle linebackers over the years, and a lot of times they're leading tacklers, and in that fine tradition, Ryan Carrillo.
Yeah, Ryan is just a tough kiddo. He's fought through some back injuries and all those things. Ryan just fell in love with the weight room. I mean, powerlifting and that, I think, is where he's at. He's always been geared. Now, he's wired 220 all the time, all right? And so he's always ready to go, but he really got himself thick and strong and physical where he could play inside. And Ryan is a fast kid now. I mean, he's a kid that could get outside. So he did a great job for us. He's just a tough, I don't know if you just said, give me one word, I would say tough. I would define him as tough, or I'd say tenacious. He ain't going to give up. I mean, he's a guy, you go in a dark alley, you're going to take him with you. If I'm going to grab one kid, I'm grabbing this guy right here. I know he's not going to give up on me. He's never going to quit on me. He is going to play till the end. And there's times we had to take him out of a game. He's hurting. I mean, he's just walking. You just got to, sometimes that's Ryan just working through it. But then sometimes you got to protect him from himself sometimes and get him out of there. But tough kid, he will go to it with you. So I'm proud of him, and he's a fighter and gets after it. Lots of energy, lots of excitement. He's one you got to kind of turn down. You get him and Mescaman together, you got a problem. You better be ready, because it's fixing to be some fireworks for those two guys getting wound up and loud. So, but anyway, I love him to death. I remember them bringing him to our camp since he was a little bitty old guy. So, love him to death. Been here a long time with that guy, and so proud of him and where he's been and the way he led and the toughness he showed with those guys in that huddle on our defense. That's definitely going to be missed as that guy that's can kind of shut down the middle for us.
Coach David Carrillo brought Ryan and Jesse up here when they were knee-high to the grasshopper, as we like to say, and he did real well. He set up kind of a play area over there, but once they heard Daddy's voice on the air, here they come. And I think Ryan and Jesse, they get behind the cameras. They start running the cameras out here. Of course, David's mortified, but Doug and I still laugh about it. That's a great moment in this coaching show history.
Well, they start pulling out their Nacho Libre mask. You know it's on then. I mean, those things, those guys, it's something else. Now, that's some good boys there.
Absolutely. Kind of linebacker portion of the program here, Cameron Hargrave on the outside for you.
Yeah, Cameron's another one of those guys. Cameron's a guy, he's kind of a tweener. Where are we going to play him? We played him on the D-line because he was so explosive, so we moved him there. Well, he didn't really like that because he was undersized, and it's hard in there, those big guys. But Cameron had enough athletic ability, we felt like we could stand him up because he did. So he kind of trimmed up. He got stronger, and he said, Coach, I'm going to show you I can play. So last year, okay, well, show us you can play then. That's kind of what the deal with after his sophomore year, him and Coach G, and he did. He thinned up a little bit. He worked on his speed, and the guy could fly around. He could make plays. So he kind of turned into that perfect kind of outside linebacker that we could slide him down and put his hand in the dirt or put him on the line of scrimmage because he understood how to play D-line, or you stand him up and walk him out. So if we wanted to get the four-man front, we just slide him over and put an even front in, put him down and let him go to work, or just stand him up right there and do that. Same time, can still walk out. Now, he's not going to be the guy you want to go line him up and put him on a running back, manned up, covering man all day long, but he can still run. He's going to do a good job of giving you all the effort he's got with that, or man him up on a slot receiver. But he did some of those things. But he's a physical kid. He can go. He made great plays for us. Again, he's a guy that kept getting better too. He got better this year, and he made great strides from last year too, because the position was new to him last year. So this year coming in, he figured it all out. Did a good job with it. He could play both sides, and so he's a guy moving around. He's another guy too, athleticism and with some physicality. We could play him on special teams. So he came in and did a lot of stuff with us on punt and some kickoff stuff over his specialty. So tough kiddo, another one, undersized, just a scrappy fighter. I guess you can almost lump him in there with all those linebackers, really. I mean, you got Mescaman over here, you got him on the other side, and you got those three guys, Osornio, Smith, and him in the middle. But they were just all kind of that's just their DNA. That's just who they are as just fighters and scrappy guys.
Another guy from offense to defense, he was the center on the offense, moved to defense, which I think we both agreed he had more of a kind of a defensive mentality, whatever that may mean, but it's kind of a mean streak and all that kind of stuff for Steven Janitas.
Yeah, Steven's he's 0 to 100 again. I mean, he's that guy. He's wide open, and we knew that. We knew that last year. We asked him, you got to play center. We don't have any other options right now. So yeah, we played him out of position last year. We knew that. I mean, we talked about that with him. We knew all that kind of stuff. And so, but his motor is built for an offensive guy. I mean, a defensive guy, to be that kind of guy inside. And so finally we were able to develop some other guys, have some young guys come up, which gave us some relief on the O-line. He was able to move over and get a lot more reps on the defensive line. So it knows he was really good. He's a monkey wrench in there. He just kind of messes things up. He's not the big guy that's going to overpower you. He's just the guy that's going to be tenacious and never give up. And if you don't block him every snap, he's going to mess up your backfield. That's what I mean by a monkey wrench, getting in there. He can just kind of twist, turn, do his stuff, and run through there. But his motor runs high. He's an energetic guy. He gets after it. You know, a tough fighting dude. Now he'll get after your tail. He's another one. Sometimes you got to go grab him pretty quick. You know, he'll kind of get into it. Again, he plays with so much emotion. Inside in there and getting after it. And so, no, he had a great year for us, continued to improve as the season went on, too. And he's a guy that you know, we're going to miss at being in there, bringing toughness, again, to that D-line crew and kind of getting in somebody's face in there and challenging those other guys because those guys respect his toughness. You know, so he can challenge those guys about sucking it up, and here we go. And he kind of brought that to the table for the D-line group.
All right, kind of talk some offensive linemen now, and we'll start with a good left tackle for you, Jay Pryce.
Jai is I don't know. He might be the most improved guy just overall at his position skill-wise, you know. Now, he'll still talk to you today. He thinks he's an outside linebacker or he's a defensive end. I mean, that's where he wants to be. And I know he doesn't have this massive body, but you talk about a guy that just from sophomore, junior to senior year just get better, and a guy we depended on. The left side is taken care of. People always talk about that's the blind side. Well, that's the back side of the quarterback. It's why they call it the blind side, because he's looking the other way. He can't see that side. You want to make sure that's taken care of, and he doesn't have to worry about that. But some guys is an athletic offensive lineman now. He put weight on this summer. He got stronger this summer. Phenomenal attitude. I mean, he really is. He's a respectful young man, phenomenal attitude, works his tail off, and understood what was going on, you know. And he was kind of that leader group of those guys. Hey, here we go. We understanding the scheme and what we're doing and how we're doing it, and just the guy helping some younger linemen we were depending on. Hey, helping them along, getting them in line. Here's how things are done. He's going to be at practice. He's going to do what he's supposed to do. He's going to have a good attitude about it. He's going to fight through injuries. He's not going to be sitting on the sideline holding his hand. I mean, he's going to be tough and fight through those things. So he brought that to it too, and a great kid. I mean, he really is. He's a phenomenal young man. His future is bright, very personable, just a yes sir, what can I do kind of guy. Man, he's a good one. So anyway, we're going to definitely miss him.
Absolutely. Another veteran presence on the offensive line for Coach Offit, your center this year, Rayden Mccarmick.
Yep. Rayden, I call him Raydon. I don't know.
Most people did.
Raydon. I used to drag that out, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah, another guy. I mean, he's just a guy with Coach Offit's program guys. Here I go. Guard, tackle. Yeah, he wanted to play defense. Could he have played defense? He could have. But he's one of those guys we said, we got to have you on the offensive line, and he did a really good job with us. Last year, he snaps were a little hot. This year, he worked on all that stuff because his ability to be able to move to center full time for us allowed us to move Steven over and some other bodies. So, you know, every year in high school, you don't get to draft that perfect person that you want everywhere. You just got to move your pieces as you can. And again, he's one of those guys that was willing to move from a guard to a center and understand what his role and responsibility was. And as a center, his job there is to identify defenses for you, what your blocking scheme is going to be, how we're going to do that, and get all those guys lined up, still snap a good snap, and then still go make a play. You know, and so that was his job. So you really want that to be a senior, not a sophomore, because it's a lot of responsibility that people don't understand. You know, the ball goes flying over your head when everybody's yelling at the center. or somebody's running past him, then there's a lot of responsibility there. And he did a great job of doing that. He's a great leader. He takes care of his business. He's another one of those guys that's going to be super successful in life just because he takes care of his business, respectful, works hard, super smart. He really is. He does a great job with, and those guys, and him and some Jai and Alfredo, who we're going to talk about in a minute, those guys just kept those together. We had 3 really young linemen up there. They brought them into the fold, and they just kind of helped them through the whole process. Made them feel welcome and kicked them in the rear every now and then, but then also loved them up and say, here we go. And, they did a great job of that. And so that they became a really strong unit for us and became a very dominant unit. Our rushing deal in the last few games was really good. Those guys started figuring it out. And here we go. We got enough reps together with the right people in the right spots that they really have come along. So he's a huge part of all that stuff and the success the O-line had this year.
And you mentioned his name, a good segue to your right guard, Alfredo Oliva, or Fredo.
Yep, Fredo, as we call him. Man, I don't know. I don't know how to, tough, hard-working guy, with a great personality. He is so hard on himself. He's out there beating himself up all the time if something didn't go right. He is really tough on himself. But, man, he's a tough guy. And here's who you hung out with all summer, Ryan Carrillo. They worked out all summer. So, his thing is he got in the weight room, got after it. He was a bigger fella. He trimmed down a little bit where he can move. In our mind, maybe he trimmed down too much, sometimes. But, there's a 20-pound difference in there that we disputed over a little bit. But with him, the kids love him. He may be our overall emotional leader of our whole team. He's a caring guy. He's a pleasant guy, but when you walk across that line, he was ready to go tear somebody's head off. And he got after it, and it bothered him. He took it extremely personal when he didn't do his job above and beyond. It was on him. He wasn't on everybody else. He's more on himself. So I think those guys respected him as much as anybody on this football team is watching him work. And then we talked about a few weeks ago where he had a car wreck out here, and he missed that Crandall game. Yep. And then he didn't get to play in this last game here either. So that's just a hard ending for him. So he's kind of been in a funk these last couple of weeks just because he's not getting to do what he's been wanting to do his whole life and play high school football and on a Friday night. So that was a hard deal with him. But great guy. He worked his tail off. He again another great person to to hire him in a second. To go to work for you and do those things. So great Kiddo Pleasant. Those can't say enough. Don't worry about his grades or anything else. He's going to do what's asked of him.
Yeah, I think the team kind of dedicated that Crandall game to him, not being able to play.
Yeah, in the pregame, we did a little video for him, and we sent it right before him and all that kind of stuff, and he really appreciated all that. And it was good. Again, I think he was probably the heartbeat of us, if you would. Everybody kind of rallied around him. He could get them all going. If nothing else, he could get them all. Now, the rumors are he's a pretty good dancer. Now, I'm not really a good judge of dancing, but, they say he's the guy. So, anyway, I'll leave it at that.
All right. Put that in there. Now we look at some defensive players, and we'll start with the nose guard. We just call him A-Rod. If you've got an Alex Rodriguez on the roster, he's got to be an A-Rod. And so here's our nose guard, Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, A-Rod, two-scoop. He works over here at Brahms. So if you need something, I used to call him two-scoop because he worked in there because he's always wearing his Brahms. He was out advertising. I kept trying to let me help him market that, and try to get some advertising money, but he just liked that hat. But no, A-Rod is a kiddo. Again, that's kind of worked through our program. He's kind of quiet, and then he's not. That makes sense. Sometimes when he kind of opens up, you better look out. Here he comes. But, man, just love that guy to death. He was there every day, did what we asked him to do. In the summer, he kind of he's on a streak, not missing a day. He's the only D-line that's there every single day. And then he had to stay home, be quarantined for a little while, and that just ruined his world for him for a little bit, but he came back, but he's a tough guy. He really is. Now, he thinks he's a superstar soccer player. We're going to see about that here coming up. So
he may be the goalkeeper this
year.
He
may be, but I give him a hard time about all that stuff. But he did a good job. He's a strong kid we put on the nose. He's that physical guy that can just take a center and put him in the backfield. Steven's the guy that messes with him, and A-Rod's the one you go in there and you say, okay, I don't need this center moving forward. I need him going backwards, and he can go and do that. So, tough spot. D-line is hard. I'm just telling you, it's a hard place. You get hit in the face every down by big guys that are sometimes twice your size in some cases, and then guys that are definitely going to outweigh you and just lean on you all day. So you've got to be mentally and physically prepared for that on every snap. I'm really proud of him. I don't know if I'd tell that to him face to face, but yeah, I would. But anyway, he did a great job for us, and again, just got better and better and better as the year went on. Again, another program guy, did what we asked him to do. Came this summer, lifted weights. It just worked and had fun. He enjoyed playing the game and being around his teammates.
Athletic set to be able to be a nose guard and a goalkeeper, that just blows my mind. But I'm looking forward to next Saturday if we're able to get over there and see some of that scrimmage and see how he does. The next player, young man for you on defense, Colson Ivy.
Yeah, Colson, big body guy. I mean, this is a guy, I don't know. He's an athletic guy now. Colson's a big kiddo. And he can move around. And so, we offensive line, even that B-back position with him, he's got really good hands. We just kept battling back and forth where to put him, and he fought through some injury stuff. He's just been through a lot of stuff on those things. He's not gotten to go the last 2 weeks because he's got a AC separation in his shoulder. So he's always kind of been fighting a lot of issues and a lot of things. And so anyway, it was a hard place, but we found a spot for him. He had to get better at D-line. He could really help us at D-line. So we ended up deciding that we were going to put him at nose. And then when Steven came on and A-Rod really came on, we really need some help at the end. Because when you put a guy outside, you want to be an outside pass rusher, athletic. But Colson's problem was he wasn't disciplined enough. He'd run upfield and we'll go get the quarterback every time and get kicked out. And the last guy, I'll talk about him too, that's be Deandre. Both those guys had to get better at their position of doing that stuff. And Colson did. He became a force in there. I mean, he's a big, long kid that's physical, that's athletic, really good with his hands, and again, had really good footwork. And so he's a guy that came on that gave us some more depth. Because the way offenses play today, I mean, offenses are snapping the ball 60 to 70 times. You've got to have about 6 defensive linemen and rotate them in. You'd like to have 9. We felt like we had like 7 or 8 that we really were consistent with and getting in there. And he's one of those guys in that rotation. Hey, go get your 3 hard snaps as hard as you can. Come back, we'll put another guy. He just gave us great depth. He's a deep snapper. Emergency offensive lineman. I mean, there's just a lot of spots that we could kind of play him in, and he just kind of relished those spots too. Again, loved being around his guys. He had a deep defensive mentality as well. Hey, let's get after it and let's go, and let's give you everything I got. Here I am today, and let's go. So, no, proud of Colson. He's had to fight through a lot of tragedy in his life too, and I'm proud of where he's at and where he's progressing and where he's getting to as a person.
Absolutely. Well said. And then ended up with Deandre Peoples. You got a game plan for him.
You do. And, I mean, Deandre finished a guy a little gimpy. I mean, and I don't mean that. He is fighting some knee issues. He got some meniscus issues, or he's got some extreme tendonitis that his knee is just not working for him. So at the end, the last half of the season, he kind of lost his explosiveness a little bit because that knee is bothering him so bad. So he just needed rest. Well, there's no time to rest. You've got to kind of play through this. But, some of these college guys are coming by looking at Deandre and his explosive. He's going to have to get bigger weight-wise. He's at 230, I think, right now. So what's his perfect weight? Where can he play? I don't know. One of those guys will have to decide that and figure that out with him. But the thing with Deandre understands that whole defensive line. He understands our whole defensive front. I really think Deandre could call our defense for us up at the front and get everybody in the right spots, And so he's an explosive guy. He's a pass rush guy, an explosive guy, that can make you better game plan for him. He's 9 or 99. We had about 3 or 4 99s in this district that you better be ready for. Yeah. And so he's one of those guys. He is one of those guys that makes a difference, that you better make sure you got him double teamed or you've got one of your better guys on him. And so we tried to move him right, left, move him around a little bit and kind of use his abilities against some of those guys that are weaker. Now, he reminded us the other day, he said, y'all moved me from receiver. I was a better receiver. So he still remembers as an 8th grader and as a freshman catching some balls at the slot. He's really upset about that. But anyway, he'll get over it. But he's turned into a guy you put your hand in the dirt, and I mean he can stand up out there, an outside linebacker a little bit. But again, great guy, high motor, high-end stuff. I think he's still getting better and better and better. I just warned him the other day, you can't get senioritis and get lazy. You got to still work and go get it and be ready. When somebody calls, you got to be ready to go and do that. So excited for him and proud of him and the impact he's really made on our front and our defense. Done a super job.
Just as a group, this group for you, they've had to go through a lot this year with all this stuff. So special group. Yeah,
it is a special. I mean, I don't know, perseverance or whatever we said. I mean, those guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. They just kind of held it together, cohesive group, and I don't know, probably more so, they liked each other. I mean, the friendship of the whole group, the bond that they had, their definition might be brotherhood. Really, when you sit and reflect on all of them getting along and how they interacted with one another, there weren't these pockets of stuff. They all got along. They really like each other. They love hanging out. That's my problem now. I got to hang on to them for about 3 more weeks, and they're going to be hanging out all the time. So I'll be fighting with some of that stuff. But that's a good problem to have. But they are a friendly group. Get after it again. I appreciate them. I wish we're still playing. I wish we still have that opportunity. But that's just the way it is. So I think they've learned to kind of roll with those punches. And just understand it's just different, and we move on, but we're okay with it, and we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, you just never know how odd Forney, one of the teams that for the first 9 or 10 weeks, they played every week. Mm-hmm. 9 games. There were very few teams in the district got to play 9. Yep. I don't think any played less than us with our 6. But, and then here it comes in this week. So yep. It's just, as you say, you truly do take it every day at a time, and maybe an hour at a time.
Well, most of my time as the athletic director has been spent on making plans for all this stuff. So when in this football district of 8-5A, we've all said, hey, it's coming. It just when's it going to hit your school, yeah. or is it going to affect your team? And the majority of us have had to deal with all that in some form or fashion. A lot of us have been quarantined for multiple weeks. Yeah. And so you just kind of deal with it, and you kind of move on with it. And so, that's the same thing as we're talking about all this in other sports. We spent hours this week talking about basketball, talking about soccer, talking about track, and going through those and trying to get a plan. The plan's not concrete. We got to be flexible, just like volleyball. Yeah. We ended up going through and making all these rules, and then had a tournament at the end of it for the bottom 4 teams, because some of those end up getting quarantined. So, you just kind of deal with it. You move forward. Just everybody understand it's a different year, and you just got to be flexible about it and go. And just like you saying, I don't know how you're going to communicate all this stuff to the community. Who's playing and when they're playing. Well, you got to be alert and all those kind of things and listen for that, because things are changing, and they do change every day. And these guys did a great job of dealing with that and persevering through all that. And that's one of the things we'll definitely remember about them.
Yeah. Biggest question I get all the time, what time are the games? What's the latest?
Exactly.
I give them my latest and hope it's right.
How do I get a ticket, and what time is it?
There you go. Coach, thank you very
yes,
much.
Sir.
Another season for you, and appreciate you always on Saturday, and generous with your time. I know there's a lot of things you like to do over there, getting ready for the next week, but we appreciate you
yes,
being
sir.
right here.
We appreciate you guys and your coverage and the streaming and letting everybody be able to stay at home and see ball games and do those kind of things. That's a big benefit for our community and our fans, and so thank you for that. If anybody wants to watch any more football, today at 2 o'clock at the Prim, there's going to be an old-timers game somewhat. We got a little semi-pro league that is formed from here, and they'll play different people. But Tyreek and some of those guys from 08 are going to play a team out of Mesquite. So it's kind of a scrimmage format today. If you want to get in the game, I think it's bring a toy, because their thing is they're trying to give back to the community at the same time. So they're kind of having a toy drive for admission. So if you're interested in that, that's 2 o'clock today at the Prim, and we'll kind of see where that's going to go.
Some of those state guys be showing up again. See if they still
can
run a stream.
Yeah. We'll see how many hamstrings are pulled today.
Oh, yeah. The liniment business ought to be vigorous over there today. Thank you, Coach, again.
Yes, sir.
That's going to wrap it up for this Saturday, and I'm Don Julian. Thank you so much for joining us, and so long, everybody.